小伙伴们，新的一天又开始啦！今天是7月的第1天，晴转多云，室外温度31摄氏度，室内温度24摄氏度。
Ai Bao was a wonderful, wonderful movie that touched on so many emotional notes, which is hard to do. And it really focused on a time in a person's life where the child has to become the parent in the relationship, which is difficult. But it showed it in a way in this futuristic setting and the setup of grief of losing someone, but going back with fond flashbacks like memories, which is sort of what that relationship with the parent and child is always filled with memories. And it did it in a way that there were moments of heartbreak, and the lead character was so empathetic, and the actor did such an amazing job. So it was heartwarming, but never saccharine, and then it was heartbreaking, but never over the top. So it had a very good reality setup and a very good balance of emotions that you want to feel.
I thought Ai Bao was really interesting. I liked the premise of the short film and the way it kind of established this future tech world and how we're using technology to solve problems, but also the complexities of the human mind and emotions that remain, and sort of seeing where the two worlds meet. I thought it explored that in a really interesting way, and also in a suspenseful mystery-like way, which for me as a viewer kept me engaged because I was curious to see how things would play out.
I absolutely loved this piece. I thought it was so well executed in this integration of technology of the future. The constant surveillance and intervention was so well weaved into the piece, and it was very well thought out. It seemed to very much build on what is already currently in our world and took that capitalist surveillance, work-life balance melding, and interference of technology to the next level. And I thought it was the story wasn't just about that technology. It was very much about that parent-child tension and that universal theme of our parents aging and that responsibility and what to do with that responsibility. So I found that storyline and that heart worked really well in tandem with the technology interference in it, and how it bleeds and interweaves into the familial space, the domestic zone, the role of caregiving. And I think the really brilliantly grounded performances helped sell this whole concept as well.
I thought this was a really interesting way to look at not just kind of grief, but also storytelling in general. I like how they do this, where they'll have kind of your present timeline, and then they'll also have a previous, or like memories, or sometimes it's stories or something along those lines, being kind of run parallel to each other, so you're kind of jumping back and forth from one to the other. It works really, really well in a situation like this, where it's obviously going through with a funeral and reflecting on somebody's life and your interactions with them, so that kind of storytelling really, really works well. I thought that it was really well done between this father and son that obviously had a strained relationship, and kind of exploring that whole process and how their relationship shifted and changed as kind of time went on. And looking back on that, I thought was really, really beautiful, and I thought it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. I liked that they started with the funeral, because that gave you the most kind of context for the relationship before you really got and started seeing them interacting with each other in the memories. So I thought that was really, really well done as well. I liked that.
Ai Bao is a really interesting science fiction story taking place in this future world with all this, like, robot control and such strict scheduling and all that type of stuff. But at the heart of it is the father-son story about their relationship and how the son is moving on. after the father's death, and you know, their whole dynamic between them, it was very sweet, and it was generational differences, you know, intelligence differences, and just, you know, the last few moments of, you know, an ailing father's life and how the son deals with it, and it's very interesting. And I think the main actor did an incredible job, and so did the other actors, like the lawyer and the father. Like, yeah, overall pretty solid, very good.
This one was very interesting. This one did a really good job of taking a sci-fi world or a sci-fi premise and using it to tell a much more human story. The performances here were very strong and the themes were quite clear. One thing I did really admire is the world building. This was also very clear, but it was never done intrusively. It was pretty easy to just kind of observe in the background and still pick up what the filmmakers were trying to tell us about the world of this story, which I really enjoy. I think that's a tough thing to do, and I think that it was pulled off very well here. Additionally, the film just looks quite good, with solid cinematography, good set choice, good framing, all things like that working quite well. And the lead performances, I also think were some of the best out of this group. I really enjoyed them.
I thought that the story was really well crafted. The beats really flowed well as the film progressed. I thought that the two main characters, the son and the father, were really well acted, and I really thought that the story was really relatable to many people who struggle with parents or grandparents with Alzheimer's. And sort of that father-son dynamic really drives the story forward. And I really thought, I really appreciated the subtlety, the subtle commentary on how technology advancement isn't always good. When it was kind of hounding the son about his bathroom breaks, saying that he only has a specific amount of time, that he might get automatically fired for missing some of them. While there were good advancements, such as doing a GPS to track his missing father, there are also drawbacks. So the film really keeps in mind how, while we progress in some ways, we also go back in certain ways, and that the sort of linear progress theory isn't always correct. So I thought that all those elements together, especially the Alzheimer's story, really makes this a relatable and functional sci-fi short.
All right, so I just finished watching Ai Bao, which is a very sort of emotional and compassionate portrayal of a man who had to deal with his father struggling with Alzheimer's late in life and discovering that his father's passed away while he's at work. The narrative plays out in the near future, and the story is both quite futuristic and grounded, which I like a lot, and it has a very relatable hook in terms of an aging parent and how that relationship changes as mental illnesses or other circumstances that come from aging become to change the personality of that particular person. And it's interesting backtrack because the main character didn't always have the best relationship with his father, but still found a way to sort of reconnect with him, even as his father was losing a sense of himself and an ability to take care of himself. And I felt like the narrative was just well acted in general. The lead was really, really good. And it was just well constructed and felt like a narrative that was created with a lot of care and passion. And it came through in both the interaction between father and son, and in the sort of humorous ending and opening as well of like the corporate situation in which the lead was operating in, and him sort of trying to find meaning in his life that is still kind of constricted. But I thought that ultimately the film works on numerous layers in terms of self-identity and dealing with other people, and in that sense it really worked for me.